You're in the military summary channel. In this video, we're going to discuss the most important events that took place during the previous 12 hours. We have lots of very interesting updates, so let's start. And first, we're going to talk about the conflict on the territory of Ukraine, where during the previous night between the 14th and the 15th of June of 2026, both the Russians and the Ukrainians imposed the long-range sanctions. The Russians, according to the Minister of Defense of Ukraine, used hundreds of drones and dozens of missiles to attack the territory of Ukraine, and the Minister of Defense of Ukraine reported that during the night, the Russians used 681 air vehicles to attack the territory of Ukraine. Several sources this morning published different maps where we can see the approximate routes of Russian drones and missiles that were attacking the territory of Ukraine, and as you can see, according to this picture, the Russians were using all types of weapons they have. The Russians were using drones, ballistic missiles, hypersonic missiles, cruise missiles, and so on. As you can see, the biggest number of arrows of lines are moving in the direction of the capital of Ukraine, the city of Kyiv. Probably 90% of missiles and drones that the Russians used during the previous nights were deployed in the city of Kyiv. Another important thing is that the Russians were using Iskander missiles not just to attack the city of Kyiv. Explosions with Iskander missiles were recorded through the cities of Dnipro and Kharkiv. Another important thing that the Russians were using cruise missiles of Ha-101 type. As you can see, according to this map, the Russians were trying to outflank and to outmaneuver the air defense forces of the armed forces of Ukraine of the city of Kyiv from the south, and the Russians were trying to attack the city from the south. But the Minister of Defense of Ukraine stated that almost every single Ha-101 type missile was brought down by the armed forces of Ukraine. Another important thing is that the Russians once again used the Zircon hypersonic missiles. The Russians were attacking the city of Kyiv from the south using this type of weapon, and from the east from the territory of the Kursk region. And of course, during the night and this morning and probably during the upcoming day, we will receive more and more updates, and we have already received, and we will receive more and more updates on this matter. As of the morning of the 15th of June of 2026, we have already received lots of videos on this matter. For example, in this video, we can see the Zircon hypersonic missile that was flying in the direction of the capital of Ukraine, the city of Kyiv, but this hypersonic missile was intercepted by a Patriot PAC-3 interceptor. But from the other side, in this video, we can see more hypersonic missiles of Zircon type that were attacking the city of Kyiv. And as for these missiles, we see that these missiles haven't been intercepted by the armed forces of Ukraine. In this video, we can see more missiles and more explosions through the city of Kyiv. And for example, in this video, we can see two more strikes with hypersonic missiles, which means that lots of hypersonic missiles of Zircon type haven't been intercepted by the Ukrainians since the beginning of this night, despite the fact that the Minister of Defense of Ukraine reported that 5 missiles of this type were destroyed by the armed forces of Ukraine. In this video, we can see the morning of the city of Kyiv. As you can see, black smoke over the settlement. The settlement is in complete silence after the overnight attack, because everybody understood that the upcoming day would be very, very difficult, because lots of damages, lots of destructions were dealt by Russians during this overnight attack. And here we have another video where we can see more details about the overnight fight, about the long-range sanctions that were imposed by the Russians. Lots of explosions, lots of damage the Russians managed to deal. The missiles and drones were explosions of missiles and drones were heard in different parts of the city of Kyiv. This morning, the Minister of Defense of the Russian Federation provided additional updates and details about the overnight attack. The Russians stated that they were attacking mainly objects of military infrastructure and logistics of the armed forces of Ukraine, and as a result of attack, lots of buildings, lots of facilities of logistics and military enterprises of the armed forces of Ukraine were badly damaged or even probably destroyed. Probably the most important video and the most important update is coming from the southwestern parts of the city of Kyiv. We're talking about this post office. According to information we have, the Russians managed to destroy this post office completely. Most likely the Russians were attacking this post office from the south using either Zircon hypersonic missiles or the Ha-101 missiles. According to this map, these are exactly the roads of missiles that were attacking the southwestern parts of the capital of Ukraine. Another important area is territory a bit further to the north in the area of the Juliany international airfield. According to information we have, several explosions were recorded through this area. As of the morning of the 15th of June of 2026, it's very difficult to understand whether the Russians were trying to attack this post office, and the Ukrainians managed to intercept missiles over the territory, or the Russians were attacking this building because this building is located very close to the international airfield where the Ukrainians keep their air defense forces. Probably the Russians were trying to hit and to destroy warehouses with missiles or something like this. Another important area is the eastern parts of the city of Kyiv. Explosions were recorded through the eastern parts of the settlement. In this video, we can see the consequences of attack. A building was badly damaged, as you can see. Most likely, the Ukrainians managed to intercept a missile over this part of the city, and the missile fell down on the territory of this building, while the missiles were trying to hit positions, facilities on the western bank of the river of Dnipro. Another territory that was attacked or that something happened is the central part of the city of Kyiv, in the area of a church, the most powerful, the most important, and the biggest church of the city of Kyiv was hit and damaged during the previous night. In this video, we can see the Kyiv Pechersk Lavra, the Remission Cathedral at the ancient Kyiv Pechersk Lavra was badly damaged, as you can see, as a result of the overnight attack. Pro-Russian sources, pro-Ukrainian sources, and Ukrainian sources stated that the Russians attacked the church, but the Russians are saying that the Ukrainians used expired air defense missiles, and the situation with the church took place right after the Ukrainians used expired missiles that basically fell down on the territory of the city. And by the way, during this video, during this report, we have already discussed several videos like this. For example, in this video, we can see the Zircon missile that attacks something on the territory of the city of Kyiv. And here we can see the expired Patriot interceptor that fell down on the territory of the city. So, which means that everything is possible, and we see that lots of interceptors, due to the fact that they were expired, fell down on the territory of the city of Kyiv, dealing additional damage. So everything is possible. Let's wait for additional updates on this matter. So this is the situation about the overnight attack that was carried out by Russians. And as you can see, according to this picture, the city of Kyiv wasn't the only city that was attacked by Russians. We have explosions through the cities of Dnipro and Zaporozhye, and we have lots of very interesting details about this.
Man føler sig super velkommen. Og jeg har købt rigtig mange biler mange forskellige steder. Det er
The Russians attacked objects of logistic infrastructure through the cities of Zaporozhye and Dnipro, and as a result of attack, the Ukrainians were forced to stop the railway traffic through these cities. In Dnipropetrovsk, the railway infrastructure was likely hit. And as for the city of Zaporozhye, the railway infrastructure was also hit, and according to information we have, there are delays. Also, there are train delays in both Zaporozhye and Dnipro. And this is a very important situation because right now, according to the reports, according to the results of the overnight attack, the Ukrainians are not able to use the cities of Dnipro and Zaporozhye, and there's railways infrastructure with the purpose to deploy troops and to bring additional cargo, munition, and forces from the western parts of Ukraine in the direction of the line of combat contact. So this is a very important situation. Obviously, the Ukrainians will be able to repair railways and to stabilize the situation, but it will take time. And during this period of time, the Russians may start another offensive operation or to make regrouping or something like this. So this is a very important situation that the Russians during the night managed to block and to paralyze the traffic through the cities of Dnipro and Zaporozhye, and these two cities are the biggest and the most important cities when talking about the logistics of the armed forces of Ukraine, who are currently fighting with the Russians on the line between the cities of Orekhov and Pokrovsk. Another important area is the settlement of Vasilievka. This morning we received the video of consequences of attack. This is not the consequences of attack of the overnight attack. These are the consequences of the previous day's attack. If you remember these days, we've been talking a lot about the situation in the area of the settlement of Vasilievka. The Russians attacked the settlement using probably hundreds of bombs and missiles, and as a result of attack, almost the entire micro-district of the city was reduced to ruins, and today we received additional updates on this matter. The Russians continue attacking the main logistics city on the way towards the Dnipropetrovsk direction, where both the Russians and the Ukrainians are trying to attack each other. Another important area is the city of Kharkiv. During the previous night, lots of drones were recorded through the settlement, lots of explosions were recorded as well. Basically, the city of Kharkiv was the first settlement, the first city of the overnight attack between the 14th and the 15th of June of 2026. From the other side, the Ukrainians also tried to impose the long-range sanctions on Russia, and this picture was published this morning by pro-Ukrainian sources, and according to this picture, up to 270 drones were launched by the Ukrainians to attack deep inside of the theater of Russia. And we have lots of very interesting details about this situation, about this attack. First, we have updates that some facilities and some buildings were hit on the theater of the settlement of Tula. But the most important thing is that during this overnight attack carried out by the Ukrainians, the settlement of Reutov was badly hit by the Ukrainians, and this city is a part of the Moscow agglomeration. So basically today we can say that for the first time since the beginning of the special military operation between the 14th and the 15th of June of 2026, the Ukrainians massively attacked the city of Moscow, and as a result of this attack, the Ukrainians managed to deal damage. And we have these videos basically from the city of Moscow, a black smoke over the settlement. The sources reported that the Ukrainians attacked some enterprise on the theater of the city of Reutov, on the theater of the Moscow agglomeration. As of now, it's very difficult to judge about the consequences of this attack, because now every single source is focused on the overnight attack that was carried out by Russians. But this is a very important detail, and if the Ukrainians manage to hit the settlement of Reutova in the northeastern parts of the Moscow agglomeration, this means that in coming days the Ukrainians will repeat these strikes and will continue attacking the capital of the Russian Federation. Now let's discuss the situation on the ground. During the previous 24 hours, during the previous 12 hours, we received lots of very interesting updates and changes on the ground. And first, let's talk about the most important ones. During the night, the map has been adjusted significantly through the Kupiansk direction. So this is the situation by the end of the 14th of June of 2026, and this is the situation by the beginning of the 15th of June of 2026. Yesterday in the evening, pro-Russian sources published this video where we can see how Russian soldiers were raising dozens of flags through the Kupiansk, through the northern Kupiansk direction. Lots of flags were raised, most of them were geolocated, and according to this video, at least 2 flags were raised through the northern parts of the settlement of Glushkovka. This territory used to be considered both under Ukrainian and Russian control. Furthermore, the Russians raised at least 3 flags through the settlement of Kovsharovka. These are the changes on the ground. These territories used to be considered under complete Ukraine control, but now we have proofs that the Russians are there, and the Russians have strong control over the territory. And we have at least 2 flags raised through the eastern parts of the settlement of Kupiansk-Uzlavoy. So despite the fact that the Ukrainians claimed in the past that they control the Kupiansk and the territory in this area, we continue receiving updates that the Russians continue improving their positions, and that the Ukrainians have less and less territories in the area of the city of Kupiansk-Uzlavoy under their control. The Russians continue advancing, and most likely in coming weeks the Russians will publish more videos of the same type with flags along the river of Oskol. And another important area is the settlement of Shyikovka and Barova. Here we have also at least 2 episodes where we can see how Russians were raising their flags. 2 flags were raised through the eastern parts of the settlement of Barova, and 2 flags were raised on the territory of the settlement of Zelenyy Gai. So here we have also changes. And if you remember, several days or weeks ago, the Minister of Defense of the Russian Federation reported that the Russians managed to take under complete control the settlement of Barova. And during the previous several videos, we were talking a lot that, according to information we have, up to 30 battalions of the armored force of Ukraine could be caught by the Russians and cauldron through this territory. We see that the Russians right now of the group of forces west, first of all, are focused to finish the battle for the river of Oskol. The Russians are about to finish the battle for the northern Oskol direction, and now the Russians intensify their activities and their offensive operation through the southern Oskol direction with the purpose to take under complete control the Barova pocket, and the Russians are doing this right now. Another important update is the city of Liman. During the previous night, first changes were recorded through the eastern parts of the settlement. In this video, we can see how Ukrainians were attacking Russians through the eastern parts of the settlement of Liman, and this video confirms that the Russians managed to improve their positions through the eastern parts of the settlement and that the Russians continue advancing. Now we can see something like we saw on the territory of the city of Konstantinovka 3 weeks ago when everything began collapsing. So now we are witnessing the collapse, the beginning of collapse of the city of Liman, and in coming 10 days, the map in this area would be adjusted significantly in Russian favor, and probably in coming days, the Minister of Defense of the Russian Federation and the group of forces west will confirm complete control over the settlement. The city of Konstantinovka, during the previous 12 hours, we haven't received anything when talking about changes, but we have another video published by pro-Russian sources with additional flags. In this video, we can see more soldiers through the western and the northwestern parts of the city, and we can see how Russians were raising their flags in this area. So the Russians are trying to tell us that they continue offensive operation through the western parts of the settlement, and that currently there are very heavy clashes for the most northwestern parts of the settlement for the Novoselovka micro-district. Most likely in coming 10 days, the battle for the city of Konstantinovka will over. As for the Zaporozhye direction, during the previous 12 hours, we haven't received anything.